KuKulKan, Serpent of the Nine Winds. Awesome and terrible to behold, majestic yet sinister. KuKulKan embodies the danger and beauty of a double-edged sword. What is that infernal racket? God's gear and meta, you say? Well, I am talking about the Serpent God. You interrupted my journey of explaining the history of one of the grandest gods of Smite. Fine. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Let's Learn series. In this episode, like you would guess, I'm going to be talking about KuKulKan, one of the strongest mages in the game of Smite right now, in my opinion. You might like another mage, but for me personally, after playing a lot of KuKulKan, 2 thumbs up in my book. He's really strong. But all that aside, we say let's get into the game and let's talk about the meta and the gear. So let's switch the scene. Alrighty, so now that we're in the game, we have the first thing to talk about, which is his abilities and his passive. KuKulKan, his passive is really in-depth. I mean, they wrote a book when they were trying to create his passive. Let's just get into it right now, okay? KuKulKan, Power of the Wind Jewel, increases magical power by 5% of maximum mana. that was so much to read. I mean, it takes a lot of breath control to read all of his passive. I mean, let's try one more time. Power of the Wind Jewel increases magical power by 5% of maximum mana. Whew! Wow, we got that. Basically, in short, you're going to want to gear mana because of this passive. 5% of all of that mana becoming magical power is beast. But that aside, let's get into the actual abilities. Zephyr, his ability 1. KuKulKan fires a projectile breath attack that hits the first enemy in his path, doing damage and slowing all enemies in the area around the impact. This ability, it's the one you're going to want to level up first. I like the damage output it has if you're landing it. It is a little bit harder to land, but if you are, you can, in some cases, take out a third of a mage's health, or even sometimes half health that mage, depending on what you're gearing. And that amount of damage is something no one is going to want to receive, especially in any of the team fights, if you start to focus those squishy characters. And then that slow, you can't go wrong. This is why you want to level up. 2 as well, it's going to change the slow from 30 to 50% as you're leveling it up. And that differential of speed is really going to help cause kill secures or let them be slow enough for you to get an easier chance at your ult. Now on to the 2, Slipstream. KuKulKan channels the wind, allowing him to move faster. Additionally, KuKulKan cleanses himself of slows and becomes immune to slows for 1 second when activated. This ability, let's say maybe they're using a Frostbound Hammer or some type of a slow on you, this is going to sometimes save your life, but it does not need to be leveled up. The change of speed from 20% to 40%, it's not a whole ton. That 20% speed boost is still more than enough, so you're not going to want to prioritize this over the 1. But in cases where you need to get away and you need to get a slow off of you, boom, you've got that right there in an ability. You don't have to use a relic. It is pretty beast, making his kit a little bit more rounded out and just a little bit more powerful in compared to some of the other mages that don't have an ability like this. Now on to ability 3, Whirlwind. KuKulKan summons a tornado at his ground target location. A smaller tornado branches off onto any enemies that come within the radius, doing damage every 0.5 seconds for 2.5 seconds, and is refreshed if enemies stay within the radius. This isn't that easy to land in a lot of cases when you're versing people who are more experienced at versing KuKulKan, so you're going to have to really get used to putting this down at the right time to really ensure that tornado will get on people. And you will find in team fights quite often putting it on a teammate if you're versing a high melee comp team will work really well, because they're going to want to get at that target, or even putting it on yourself. You know, it's going to give you a little little bit of a defense because people usually do not like the damage from Whirlwind. And since your damage ramp up is pretty strong as a mage right now in Season 3, no one's going to want to receive this, and you can stop them from chasing you for the kill and doing a lot of things to you. So give Whirlwind a try, but get used to it, and you'll see once you start getting the hang of feeling out where to put it, you'll start getting a lot more tornadoes on people. Now onto ability 4, Spirit of the Nine Winds. This is so strong. KuKulKan summons the Spirit of the Nine Winds to breathe down destruction onto his enemies in the path in front of him, doing damage and knocking all of the enemies to the side. Now, this ult is not like a normal ult that's just going to hit or anything like that. It has a line ability, and this big Spirit of the Nine Winds is going to travel along that line, so the further away the target is, the less likely you are to hit them because they have more time to get out of the way. If your comp is a high CC comp, so if you have a teammate that has some type of crowd control that can keep them in place for a while, then you have more of a chance of utilizing this ult at long-range targets. But don't be afraid to use this at short range, like maybe a Susano is coming in at you. Use this right when they're right in front of you. You have a high chance of hitting them. Make sure right as you hit the ult, use your 1 right after it, so that maybe you could slow them so they can't get out of the way fast enough. So utilizing this with the 1 or using your 1 before the ult, all these things together are going to help you have a higher chance of securing that hit. And if you hit with either the 4 or the 1, it is so much damage that even a Susano with slight gear defenses, or any character with defense against your magical power, you're still going to do so much damage that with your teammates there's no way they're going to want to keep on staying in and chasing you and focusing you or doing anything to you. They're going to really start thinking about changing up their focus target or looking for a better chance to get you. And if you give them no better chance, then they're not going to get you, and you're going to sit there and have a fun day doing damage as a mage, just beast moding all day long. But now with the ability side, let's talk about some of the gear. The gear is, like I often say, very dependent on the comp you have, the comp they have, what's happening in the match, what your type of play style is. Everything comes together to kind of form a build. But for right now, we're kind of going to just talk about some pieces that in perfect scenarios you're going to want to use, and some options around that. So to start off with, I like to look at Doom Orb. Usually when I play the match, I'll get the tier 1 of Doom Orb, I'll get the tier 1 of the boots, and then I'll get, mana pots, health pots, and maybe their meditation, sanctuary beads, depending on what I need, because of whatever the comp they have is and whatever comp we have. I do like meditation, I've been using it. You have to really skill not getting caught out by CC if you don't get the beads if they have a high CC comp, but in those cases, really you're better off with the beads. But for me, when I'm streaming, I like to have a little bit of fun, try out some different things and really test myself, and I'll go med, and sometimes it works out rather well. And often I am queued up with some people who watch stream that play really well, so it does help out, in the case of using some tester build type items. So for Doom Orb, 40 magical power, 200 mana, 7 MP5, and the passive, you gain plus 2 magical power per stack, 5 stacks, blah, 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 max of 50 stacks. So that's an extra 100 magic power that's going to get added on to your build as you're gaining these stacks. So you're already starting with 40. Once you get this piece, boom, it's going to be 140. Now, like I said, when I get the Doom Orb, usually I'll get tier 1 with the boots, but we'll talk about it in a second. So Doom Orb, let's just go through it. If you're versing a comp that is high aggression, they have maybe like an Willix, like certain things that could do a lot of damage, maybe an Ao Kuang, some type of character that's very bursty, high damage. They're going to be trying to focus you as hard as possible. Maybe even a Ho Yi catching you out with like double bounce shots or triple bounces, doing a lot of quick damage. Doom Orb might not be the piece you get, but since you only got the tier 1, you can finish off on the boots instead. And hold on to your tier 1, because you're going to eventually turn that into Tahuti probably. or maybe Chronos Pendant, most likely Tahuti. So you have the Doom Orb. This is perfect case scenario, though, so you have the Doom Orb, you're rocking it, you're not having to hold on to tier 1 and continue gearing your other things. Now you get the Shoes of Focus. Shoes of Focus, you get 30 magic power, 250 mana, 10% cooldown reduction, and 18% movement speed. For KuKulKan, since he needs mana, 250 mana on top of the mana you already have from the Doom Orb, 200 mana there, you're starting to ramp up your power a little bit more on top of the pieces you're getting, because you want to stack the mana as best as humanly possible. So with this piece, it's rather cheap, only 1,500 gold. You can get it pretty fast, and you're ramping up your power as well as Doom Orb is, a heck of a lot more. So now you're sitting there at 151 magical power, and you're thinking, what do I get next? What can I really ramp up my power with next? Because within the first 4 items, you kind of want to get what you're going to need to win the match. Because especially in Joust, the match times range from anywhere from 12 minutes to maybe 30 minutes, depending on the type of match you're playing. And if you're in that 12-minute match, you're going to want to have those first pieces be what can take you from that tier 1 tower all the way to their Titan and finish the game. Now, next you're going to want to get Book of Thoth. Book of Thoth is basically like the KuKulKan piece of gear in this game. It is, in my opinion, one of the most important pieces to have as KuKulKan, but it isn't the most important piece to get from the start. I do like getting the Doom Orb in the perfect scenarios, because Doom Orb's power ramp up in comparison to the rest of the pieces, just from sheer amount of magic power that you're getting from it, is really strong, especially at low levels. But Book of Thoth, 125 mana, so you're leveling up your mana even more, 15 MP5, and just a straight 100 magical power at this point. So you're getting just a quick, big boost to your total magic power, and then you permanently gain 10 mana per stack and receive 5 stacks. God kill, blah, blah, blah. Additionally, 3% of your mana is converted into magical power. Sounds really familiar, right? It's exactly the same as KuKulKan's passive. It is just strengthening KuKulKan's passive even more so than before. So that is why I feel Book of Thoth is absolutely the piece that you need on KuKulKan. And since you're gaining 10 mana per stack, again 75 stacks, it is strong. That is a whole ton of mana from stack 1 to stack 75 that you're going to be getting over time. So not only are you boosting your magic power by 100, but now over time you're stacking and boosting your power while you're leveling, and you're just continuously getting stronger and stronger. And then when you're adding even more pieces on, even before you're done stacking, it's going to feel really strong. And since it's only 2,600 gold for the piece, it's not the most expensive piece you're going to be getting, but for a third item, at least it's not like you're going straight like Tahuti at, right off the bat. At this point, from piece 4 and on, it gets a little bit more dependent on what's happening. If you're getting the chance to really hurt them, you're not really in worry of getting killed or anything by this point, you could rush Tahuti, but for this build, even though this is perfect scenario, I'm going to go a little bit more survivor friendly. And you're going to want to get something to keep you alive. And this is where I get Polynomicon. 75 magical power, 300 mana, adding to your mana pool again. 10% magical lifesteal. Now the passive is where it's at. Using ability gives you next basic attack within the next 8 seconds, 75% of your magical power as additional magical damage. This effect can only apply once every 3 seconds. Every 3 seconds is very short. Pretty much every time your abilities are up, they're going to be ready to proc this, and you're going to be doing 75% of your magical power at this current point in extra damage. So if you do your 1 and then basic attack right after that, they're taking, mage might take almost half their health from your 1, and then now even more damage. You're just hurting them so much. It's such a short amount of time, and on 4th piece of gear for 2,300 gold, that little bit extra magical lifesteal and everything is just nice to have to keep you in lane, since at this time, health pots aren't really that strong. So getting that little bit of survival friendly piece is nice, and that passive really adds to your survival friendly motif of way of playing. So now you're sitting at 408 magic power. Not bad at all. Not bad. And that's not counting with the 75% extra on your basic attacks just straight damage. Now you can notice I don't have any pen here whatsoever. Most likely, usually, I kind of skip the pen. I feel, as KuKulKan in some cases, at this point, you don't fully need it. You kind of want to kill their damage dealers like that. But if they have something like a hyper carry tank, like a Bacchus or an Ares, something that could do a ton of damage, I do then go and get some piece of pen. And usually my first choice is Obsidian Shard because it's 70 magical power, and I know I'm going to finish off the build with Tahuti, and I want to just get as much magic power as I can, not really take down their protections as much, but really just going for the power. So you could do Obsidian Shard here if you want, but this is perfect case scenario, and I'm going on, I want to kill damage dealers like that. I want them to be terrified of the amount of damage that I can do as KuKulKan. I want them to be running for the hills. So at this point, now it's time. I got the first 4 pieces. They could take me from tier 1 tower to the Titan perfectly fine. I've got a little bit of survival friendly gear, and I'm still stacking. I got all that going on. Now, Rod of Tahuti. 125 magic power, just straight magic power. 15 MP5, increases magical power by 25%. So all of the magic power you have, 25% of that is getting added on top of this piece of gear, and any of the magic power that you're going to have in the future from the pieces of gear, buffs, everything is getting added on to this. So you can't say no to getting a piece that's just going to straight boost your magic power. So boom, look at that. Now you're at 667. So 408, 667. Once you get this piece, your magic power ramps up so much that now your ult is almost one-shotting people. But the question is, how can I get my ult to one-shot people? I want to take out their damage dealer in a team fight like that, and then it be a 3v2 in the scenario. You know, how do you do that? Soul Reaver. Now you're going back into the mana game. All 4 out of the 5 pieces you have mana on them. Soul Reaver, 2,900, still relatively expensive in comparison to the other pieces, but 100 magic power, straight magic power. 25 of that magic power is getting added again on top of it due to the Route to Tahuti that you already have, and you get 300 mana. Then now we know 5% and 3% is getting added from that mana pool to your magic power, and then 25% of that is getting added further to the magic power you have. Now, when a god takes damage from your abilities, they take 15% of their maximum health in additional damage. If multiple gods are hit, the damage is applied to the one with the greatest maximum health. This can only occur once every 60 seconds. At this point in time, teamfights are going to be happening relatively every minute or so. So, having a piece that every 60 seconds is going to turn one of your abilities into a behemoth of an ability isn't bad as your last piece of gear. At this point in time, you kind of want to just get people out of the game as fast as humanly possible, so that mage, that hunter, that squishy character is going to run into a bad time with this. And even the tanks are now going to take a whole bunch extra damage due to the fact that their maximum health in additional damage. So if you're a tank, by this point, you've got tons of gear adding health onto your health pool, and now Soul Reaver's like, thanks for strengthening me, it's like, great, you just made me that much more brolic. So at this point, you're sitting there at 822 magical power, and that's not counting how much you're going to get from maybe the damage buff, from the 450 damage pot, the 3k damage pot. At this point in time, you could really get up to 1,000 magic power. There's been times with even skipping certain pieces of gear and just going straight mana builds and stuff. I've gotten up to 1,200 in magical power, and it was insane. Even the tornadoes were taking off more than a quarter of people's health, and there's just nothing people could do. But as you can see here, I do have other pieces of gear. So we gotta talk about the other pieces of gear. Let's say you want to be a little bit more survival friendly, but you don't want to get the lifesteal, you don't really want to do the Polynomicon, you're not using your basic attacks, or you feel you miss your basic attacks often. You can get rid of the poly I say you can get rid of the Doom Orb maybe mid to late game, and you get Warlock Sash, and then I like to get Ethereal Staff when I get Warlock Sash. So you're sitting there with 874 magic power now from these pieces, but the amount of health you're going to have is going to be a lot higher. So Warlock Sash, you get 300 health, 400 mana that are getting boosted by your passive, and the Book of Thoth, and then the Tahuti. You permanently gain 3 health and 0.6 magical power per stack. So you still get magical power. It's 100 stacks. You could get this maybe third item. You know, maybe you got Doom Orb, you feel Doom Orb, they're a hyper carry team, and they're gonna do a lot of damage, so you cancel the finished building of Doom Orb. You're gonna hold off on finishing it to Tahuti. You know, so you're sitting there with that as tier 1. And then you finish off your boots, you get Book of Thoth, because you really need to get the Book of Thoth as fast as possible. You want to boost your passive that much more. Then you go into your Warlock Sash, and then you get your Tahuti, and then you could get Soul Reaver, or instead of Soul Reaver, you can sell that. If you want Pen, you're still sitting at 806 magical power. You know, the gear is fluid. It doesn't have to be one thing or anything else. The Ethereal Staff, you get 30 magic power, 400 health again, and 300 mana. So as you can see, in total health pool, you're sitting at 2425 at level 20. In mana, you're sitting at 2240. You know, it is so strong. So now, Ethereal Staff passive there is 2.5% of your maximum health is converted to magical power. So it's basically the same thing as Book of Thoth or your KuKulKan passive, but now you're doing it double. You're changing your health to magic power, and you're changing your mana to magic power. And, you know, give it a shot. You try out all the different forms of ways you want to do this build, what you like to use, what you don't like to use, see what works best for you. Are you a great one-shot killer with your ult? Then, yeah, Soul Reaver. You know, if you're not that amazing with your ult, you have a comp that doesn't have much CC, you don't feel you're going to have a lot of chance to utilize that ult, then maybe Warlock Sash Ethereal Staff. You know, you figure it out by what is happening in that match, what the comp they have is, what your comp is, what's happening, and your build will be formed by all of that. But when we talk about relics, though, let's go through relics really quick. I like to get meditation first, usually, but like I said, I'm playing with people from the stream, and they're pretty dang good, and since they know how I play, they've watched how I play, they kind of, you know, complete me a little bit, you know, and we do rather well, so I can do something a little bit more, less cautious like that. But in most cases, you're going to want to get the Purification Beads and or Sanctuary, depending on the comp. If they don't have any CC whatsoever, or they have some CC, but it's really jukesable. Like, you can get around it, like maybe a Medusa ult. Like, really, if you're paying attention to that, you could be able to 180 it really fast. You know, get a mouse with high DPI amount settings or whatever, so you turn really fast. You don't really need it, but Sanctuary, quite often I do find, is like my second most used piece as a tier 1 relic, especially in cases like maybe a Cupid, being on the team. I don't want to take damage. Maybe a Zeus, I don't want to take damage of his pop or his ult, or, you know, depending on any of the scenarios, Sanctuary I do find is quite helpful. But you gotta remember, Sanctuary gets shut off by a lot of abilities. So you may think, oh wow, it's gonna stop the damage and this and that. A lot of the time, you'll run into gods that can shut off Sanctuary. So even though you have it, you have to be cautious and wary of the abilities they do have that will shut it off. And in those cases, sometimes Beads might be a little bit better than Sanctuary might be, or both of them together are going to be exactly what you need. But for me, I go for Med. Quite often, I'll go for Weakening Curse on top of that, because I like to slow people, and even though my 1 slows and all this stuff, like, I like to slow people. You can maybe sometimes get a Frenzy. I've been trying to make Sunder work in some cases, you know, upon activation, Fire Bolt that stops when it first got hit, but you know, it's not really meant for KuKulKan. But like I said, I like to have a little bit of fun with it and test things out and see how they work, see how they feel, and you never know if you're going to come up with something crazy and random and different. But that's KuKulKan's build. I hope it helps you, and if it does, you know, let me know. Thanks for stopping by for this video. I hope you liked it. If it helps, let me know in the comments, or come by Twitch, tell me live on the stream, or if you have any questions or anything, comment section, or the Twitch, come by twitch.tv/fealtygaming. But if you like it, like, comment, subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye-bye!